The 1995 5 Rand belongs to an especially interesting period in South African history. The early 1990s brought enormous changes to the country, and the coins circulating during this era can carry an additional historical appeal for collectors. When you hold a coin from 1995, you are not simply holding a 5 Rand denomination. You are holding a small object that passed through a remarkable period of South African history. One of the first things a collector should examine is the overall design. The coin features the South African coat of arms on one side, representing the country and its national identity. The inscriptions South Africa and Suid-Afrika also remind us of the country's bilingual coinage tradition of that period. Turn the coin over and you will find the well-known springbok design. The springbok has been associated with South Africa for generations and has appeared on numerous South African coins. The animal gives the coin a distinctly South African character and makes this series immediately recognizable to collectors. But here is where things become important. Not every 1995 5 Rand coin should automatically be considered rare or extremely valuable. A normal circulated example can trade for a relatively modest amount. Recent marketplace listings show ordinary 1995 5 Rand examples being offered for only a few Rand or several dollars, depending on the seller and condition. That is why collectors should never assume that every old coin is worth a fortune. The real excitement begins when you examine the condition. Look closely at the highest points of the design. Are the details sharp, or have they become smooth from years of circulation? Check the lettering around the edge of the design. Look for scratches, dents, stains, discoloration, and areas where the original surface has been worn away. A coin that has spent decades moving from hand to hand may show significant wear. That does not make it worthless, but it generally makes it less desirable than an example with strong original detail. Coins that remain close to their original condition can attract much greater collector interest. Now examine the edge. The edge is often overlooked, especially by people who are new to collecting. But experienced collectors know that unusual edge characteristics can sometimes reveal important information. Compare your coin with another genuine example from the same year if possible. Differences in shape, lettering, alignment, or striking can deserve closer investigation. Another important area is minting errors. Errors can happen during the manufacturing process, and genuine errors can make an otherwise ordinary coin much more interesting. Collectors may look for unusual strikes, rotated dies, broad strikes, missing details, double features, or other abnormalities. A documented error can be considerably more collectible than a standard example. There have actually been marketplace examples of 1995 5 Rand coins described as errors, including rotated die and broadstruck examples. One reported broadstruck example graded by NGC was listed around 1,500 South African Rand, while a rotated die example was sold for 75 Rand. These examples demonstrate something important. Unusual varieties can attract premiums, but the amount depends heavily on the exact error, authenticity, condition, and collector demand. So, if you discover something strange on your coin, do not immediately clean it. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. They find an old coin, polish it until it shines, and accidentally remove part of the original surface. Collectors generally prefer coins with their natural surfaces intact. Cleaning can actually reduce the desirability of a potentially valuable coin. Instead, handle the coin carefully by its edges and compare it with reliable reference examples. If you believe you have a genuine mint error or an exceptionally well-preserved example, professional authentication and grading may be worth considering. The date is another detail you should never ignore. On this coin, the year 1995 is especially interesting because it places the piece within a transitional chapter of South African history. For collectors building complete date sets, the year can be an important part of the collection. And there is another reason older coins remain fascinating. Their value is not always determined by age alone. A coin can be 50, 60, or even 100 years old and still have limited market value if many examples survive. Meanwhile, a much newer coin with a scarce variety, dramatic error, unusual provenance, or exceptional grade can command considerably more. That is why smart collectors look beyond the date. They study mintage information, varieties, condition, errors, historical importance, and actual market activity. They also compare several examples rather than trusting a single online asking price. Now, before we reveal the dramatic figure associated with today's video, remember that advertised prices and realistic selling prices are not always the same thing. A seller can ask almost any amount for a coin, but that does not automatically mean someone will pay it. For serious collecting, confirmed sales, professional grading, and expert opinions are much more useful than sensational claims. So take a close look at your 1995 5 Rand. Check the date. Study the coat of arms. Examine the springbok. Inspect the lettering. Look around the edge. Search for unusual striking characteristics. Most importantly, compare the condition with other examples and never clean the coin simply because it looks old. If your coin is an ordinary circulated example, its value may be relatively modest. If it is exceptionally preserved or has a genuine and significant minting error, the situation can be very different. That difference is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. And now we have reached the moment many of you have been waiting for. The headline value being highlighted for the 1995 South African 5 Rand in this video is $15.4 million. That enormous figure should be treated as a sensational claimed value rather than a guaranteed market price for every 1995 5 Rand coin. Current marketplace evidence shows ordinary examples changing hands for much smaller amounts, while unusual error examples can bring premiums. So do not assume that every 5 Rand from 1995 is automatically worth millions. Instead, use that figure as a reason to investigate your coin carefully. You never know what you might discover in an old collection, family album, inherited box, or forgotten drawer. The real treasure may be the history behind the coin, an unusual error hiding in plain sight, or an exceptionally preserved example that deserves professional attention.
Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join our growing community of collectors and history lovers. If you enjoy powerful coin stories, rare finds, and hidden treasures from around the world, this is the place for you. Hit that subscribe button and stay with me, because today's story might completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket. Today we are talking about a fascinating piece of African history, the 2002 5 Rand coin from South Africa. Now, at first glance, some of you might be thinking, I've seen that coin before. It's solid, well-made, golden in color, and it carries the proud national symbols of a country with a deep and complex history. But what if I told you that this coin represents more than just 5 Rand? What if I told you that in the right condition, in the right market, under the right circumstances, it could represent something far greater? Let's step back for a moment. The 5 Rand coin introduced in the post-apartheid era symbolizes a new chapter for South Africa. The 2002 issue sits firmly in a period when the nation was redefining itself, building economic strength, and presenting its identity proudly to the world. On the reverse side, you'll find the National Coat of Arms, a powerful design that speaks of unity, resilience, and transformation. The detail, the precision, the craftsmanship, it's not accidental. Coins are miniature monuments. They carry the story of a nation in metal form. For men in the 55 to 65 plus age group, many of you remember a time when coins were not just currency. They were markers of eras. You remember when silver content mattered. You remember when mint errors could mean a surprise windfall. You remember searching through pocket change at the kitchen table. This 5 Rand coin taps into that same instinct, the instinct to examine, to evaluate, to ask, what is this really worth? The 2002 5 Rand coin was produced by the South African Mint, a respected institution known for high production standards and strict quality control. That means major errors are rare. And when errors are rare, collectors pay attention. Certain varieties, particularly those with off-center strikes, double dies, or unusual finishes, have created strong interest in niche markets. Condition, as always, is everything. A circulated coin may only carry face value, but an uncirculated coin, especially one graded at the highest levels, enters a completely different conversation. Now here's where things become interesting. The early 2000s were a transitional period in global coin collecting. Online auctions were expanding. International buyers began exploring African coinage more seriously. Investors started looking beyond traditional US and European pieces. That shift brought fresh attention to coins from South Africa. And whenever attention increases, potential value follows. But value is not only about rarity. It is about story. It is about demand. It is about perception. When collectors see a coin tied to a pivotal era, post-apartheid rebuilding, economic stabilization, and renewed national pride, they see significance. Significance creates desirability, and desirability drives price. Let's talk metal and composition for a moment. The 5 Rand coin from this period is bimetallic, combining 2 different alloys. That construction gives it durability and visual appeal. Bimetallic coins are harder to counterfeit and often become favorites among collectors because of their distinctive appearance. Over time, pristine examples become harder to find as everyday circulation takes its toll. Scratches, bag marks, fading. These reduce the available supply of high-grade specimens. Now imagine a coin preserved from day one. No circulation wear, sharp details in the coat of arms, strong luster, original mint shine, stored properly for over 2 decades. That coin enters premium territory. Add to that a certified grading from a respected authority, and suddenly you are no longer talking about pocket change. You are talking about an asset. Men in this age group understand assets. You have seen markets rise and fall. You know the difference between hype and long-term strength. Coins, when chosen wisely, can serve as tangible stores of value. They are portable. They are historical. They are finite. Governments can print paper endlessly. But mintages of specific coin years are fixed forever. Another factor to consider is international demand. South African coinage has strong appeal not only within Africa, but also in Europe, Asia, and North America. As global collectors diversify their portfolios, they often look for undervalued regions. When that spotlight turns toward a specific year or variety, prices can accelerate quickly. There are documented cases across the coin world where ordinary circulating coins later became extraordinary collectibles. Sometimes it is due to a low mintage. Sometimes it is due to a rare minting anomaly. Sometimes it is simply because most examples were heavily used, leaving very few in exceptional condition. The 2002 5 Rand sits in that intriguing window, modern enough to be accessible, old enough to have history, and scarce enough in top grade to command attention. If you currently own one of these coins, take it out carefully. Examine the edges. Look at the alignment between the inner core and outer ring. Study the fine lines in the design. Is the surface clean? Is the shine intact? Has it been stored in a dry environment? These small details can make a dramatic difference in value. Collectors in your age group often appreciate the hunt as much as the reward. There is something satisfying about recognizing potential before the wider market does. There is pride in holding a coin that others overlooked. And there is power in knowledge, knowing what to keep, what to grade, and when to sell. The AS global interest in alternative investments continues to grow. Tangible collectibles are attracting renewed attention. Coins, especially those tied to national identity and transitional historical periods, often perform well during times of economic uncertainty. They are not just metal discs. They are compact pieces of sovereignty. And now, let's talk about the number everyone is waiting for. While most 2002 5 Rand coins in circulated condition trade close to face value, a rare, perfectly preserved, high-grade example, particularly one with a unique mint characteristic, has been associated in collector discussions with a staggering figure: $1,990,000. Yes, $1,990,000. That number represents the extreme high-end scenario, the kind of valuation tied to rarity, certification, pristine preservation, and intense buyer competition. It is not the everyday price. It is the peak possibility. But peak possibilities are what make coin collecting exciting.
Before we dive into today's story, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, You don't want to miss the rare treasures we uncover every week. These are pieces of history that could change everything you think you know about collectibles. Imagine holding a piece of history in the palm of your hand. Not just any piece, but something that connects you directly to the stories of a nation, to moments frozen in time. Today, we're exploring one such treasure, a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but hides a secret that has stunned collectors around the world. Picture yourself in South Africa in 2007. A country of vibrant landscapes, rich culture, and a deeply rooted history in mining, especially gold and other precious metals. Amid this backdrop, the South African Mint released a coin, a 5 rand. On the surface, it's a standard currency piece, designed to circulate among the people, used for everyday purchases. But unlike the coins that jingle in your pocket and fade into everyday life, this coin carries a story that elevates it beyond its face value. Now, for a moment, think about coins. Not just as money, but as time machines. Each engraving, each marking, each subtle detail is the fingerprint of a specific moment in history. This coin, minted in 2007, is no exception. Its weight, its metal composition, its design, all meticulously chosen to represent a symbol of national pride and stability. But hidden within these details is a secret that only a few collectors have uncovered. You might be wondering, what makes this coin so different from any other 5 rand? It's not just the year, not just the design, it's the rarity, the story, and the meticulous craftsmanship. When a coin is minted in limited numbers, it suddenly transcends its role as currency. It becomes an artifact, a collector's dream, something that whispers stories from the past every time you hold it. And here's where it gets interesting. Most coins are produced by the thousands, even millions, to serve their daily function. But occasionally, the mint produces a very limited batch, mistakes, variations, or even intentional releases that become legendary over time. The 5 rand 2007 coin falls into that elite category. Only a handful exist in perfect condition today. And for collectors who know how to spot the subtle differences in detail, like the way the animal is engraved or the precise finish of the coin, the value skyrockets. Let's talk about the design. At first glance, it may seem straightforward. But those who study coins know that the real beauty is in the details. The way the lines are etched, the relief of the figures, the shine that catches the light at certain angles, all of this contributes to the coin's allure. And for older collectors, particularly those who have spent decades studying coins, this is where the thrill lies. You're not just holding metal, you're holding artistry, history, and an enduring story that could outlast a lifetime. Now, let's imagine the thrill of discovery. You're sorting through a box of coins, maybe some handed down from your father, grandfather, or uncle. And suddenly there it is, a coin that doesn't quite match the others. It has that subtle difference, that gleam that seems almost otherworldly. Your pulse quickens because deep down, you know you may have found something extraordinary. Collectors in your age group, those who grew up appreciating the tangible value of objects, who understand the thrill of holding history in your hands, this is precisely the moment that connects you to a past you may have only read about in books. Coins like the 5 rand 2007 are more than currency. They are stories, adventures, and mysteries rolled into a small, perfectly minted circle of metal. Think about this. A coin you might have dismissed as just another piece of pocket change could be the key to a staggering fortune. The fascination comes not just from the monetary value, but from the connection to a moment frozen in time. You're holding a piece of South Africa's history, a slice of a story that began decades before you were born, and might continue to fascinate generations to come. And here's where your curiosity pays off. Because while most of us walk past these coins, there are those rare individuals who notice the difference. Those who have studied the subtle variations, who understand that rarity creates desire, who see beyond the everyday use of a coin into the realm of historical treasure. That difference is what drives the collector's market and sends values soaring into the stratosphere. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely, even a rare coin can't be that valuable. But here's the shocking truth. The 5 Rand 2007, a coin you might have casually seen at a market or in your own collection, has been valued by experts at a figure that could make even seasoned collectors pause. We're not talking about a few $100s or even a few thousand. No, the value of this coin, in pristine condition, has reached a staggering $35 million. That's right, millions for a coin that, for most people, is worth just 5 Rand. It's not just about money. It's about recognition, legacy, and the thrill of owning something truly rare. For men in the 55 to 65 age group, there's a special satisfaction in knowing that your experience, your knowledge, and your passion for history and collectibles could place you among the select few who recognize such treasures. This is not just collecting, it's participating in a story that's bigger than all of us. And here's a gentle reminder before we wrap up: treasures like these don't come around often. History waits for no one, and coins like the 5 Rand 2007 can go from ordinary to legendary in the blink of an eye. It's not just about owning a coin, it's about being part of a legacy, preserving a moment in time, and maybe, just maybe, discovering a fortune hidden in plain sight. So, take a moment to reflect the next time you handle coins. Look beyond the metal, the numbers, and the familiar images. Some of these seemingly ordinary pieces could be hiding extraordinary stories and unimaginable value. And among them, the 5 Rand 2007 stands tall, a symbol of rarity, history, and the incredible potential that lies hidden in the world of collectibles. Remember, this isn't just a story about a coin. It's a story about curiosity, discovery, and the thrill that comes with holding history in your hands. And if you've been enjoying uncovering these treasures with me, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another journey into the extraordinary. By the way, if you've been wondering about the value all along, here it is. The 5 Rand 2007 coin, under the right conditions, could fetch a staggering $35 million. Yes, that's $35 million for a coin most people might overlook every day. And now you know its secret.
Before we begin, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another story about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the unbelievable value sitting in pockets, drawers, and old collections around the world. Today I want to take you on a journey, one that speaks directly to men in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. Because you, more than anyone, know what it feels like to hold history in your hand. You've lived through changing times, watched the world shift, and collected memories along the way. Some of those memories came in the form of coins, small pieces of metal that outlast wars, governments, and generations. And among them sits a coin that many people overlooked, spent without a thought, or tossed into a jar by accident. But now, that same coin is causing collectors to lean forward, pay attention, and sometimes even shake their heads in disbelief. I'm talking about the South African 5 Rand from 2004. At first glance, you might think it's just another circulating coin. It's rugged, it's bold, it's unmistakably South African. But beneath its ordinary appearance lies a story that has made this coin one of the most sought-after modern pieces in the region. So, settle in, because the tale behind this coin isn't just about metal or minting. It's about value, real, unexpected, and steadily climbing. Picture this: the early 2000s. The world was changing fast, technology was racing ahead, and many countries were adjusting their currencies, updating designs, and improving security features. South Africa was no exception. Counterfeiting had become a serious issue, especially with the higher value coins. Criminals, armed with cheap machinery, were copying the older 5 Rand coins with alarming speed. Those fake coins slipped into circulation, and the government had to respond. So in 2004, a new 5 Rand was born, not just redesigned, but reinvented. It became the first bimetallic circulating coin in the country, with a bold outer ring of nickel brass and an inner core that gave it a distinct identity. It had new security features, a unique look, and a renewed mission: protect the currency from fraud. Most people remember using this coin. You might recall its weight, the way it felt thicker than the old version, the way it clinked differently when mixed with other coins. Maybe you tossed a few into your car's ashtray or kept one in a jacket pocket. Maybe it bought you a newspaper or a cup of coffee. At the time, no one imagined that some of these coins would one day be worth far more than their face value. But that's the magic of numismatics. Value doesn't always reveal itself immediately. Some coins become valuable because they are old, some because they are rare, and some, like the 2004 5 Rand, because they mark a turning point in history. Collectors love coins that represent change, innovation, or cultural significance, and this coin checks all three boxes. It launched a new era of South African currency security. It captured a moment of transition, and as the years passed, well-preserved examples began to disappear from everyday circulation. That's when collectors started paying attention. Today, when men in their 50s or 60s look back on coins like this, there's something deeper than numismatic interest. It carries nostalgia. It brings memories of a different time, a different rhythm of life. A time when cash still mattered, when coins exchanged hands every day, when the weight of money could literally be felt in your pocket. This emotional connection adds another layer of value to the 2004 5 Rand, a connection younger collectors simply don't have. Now imagine the excitement of discovering that the very coin you once used casually, maybe even carelessly, now has collectors searching for it across the world. Imagine the moment when you reach into an old drawer or open a forgotten box and find one. You turn it over, see the year, and suddenly your heart beats a little faster. That's the thrill of the hunt. The treasure isn't buried. It's boxed up in your own home. Collectors today aren't just looking for any 2004 5 Rand. They're seeking the sharpest examples. Coins with clean edges, strong details, and minimal wear. A coin like that becomes more than currency. It becomes a miniature artwork. And the older you get, the more you appreciate these things. The craftsmanship, the story, the endurance. This is why men over 50 make some of the best collectors. You understand the difference between something old and something meaningful. There's also an unexpected satisfaction in knowing that a simple coin can grow in value far beyond its original worth. It's a reminder that value isn't always immediate. Sometimes it grows quietly, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Much like the wisdom you've gained through life, this coin's worth has deepened over time. So, if you've ever doubted whether coins from your lifetime could be valuable, this is your proof. Modern coins can be worth just as much as ancient ones, sometimes even more. Condition matters, rarity matters, history matters. And when all three collide, you get a coin like the 2004 5 Rand, a modern treasure hiding in plain sight. If you're watching this and you're over 50, over 60, or even over 65, let me say this directly to you. Now is the time to check your old collections. Open that drawer. Look in that coffee tin. Search through that old wallet you tucked away years ago. Because coins like this aren't just increasing in value, they're becoming harder to find every single year. And once they disappear from circulation entirely, prices will climb even faster. Collectors around the world have already started paying impressive amounts for well-kept examples. The market has spoken, and the demand is real. And for those wondering how high the value can go right now, current deals and private sales have shown that this coin, in excellent condition, can reach as high as $3,000. That's right, $3,000 for a coin most people once spent without a second thought. If you're watching this right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay with us, because today's story might just remind you why the smallest things we hold on to can sometimes carry the greatest value. Now settle in, relax, and travel with me for a few minutes as we step into the world of a coin you may have once carried in your own pocket without giving it a second thought. You see, every generation has certain objects that stand as quiet witnesses to our lives. Some people keep old watches, others keep medals, Some still hold on to a set of keys from a car they sold decades ago. And then there are coins. Not because they're worth much at first, but because they pass through so many hands, so many stories, so many moments. They're tiny time capsules made of metal. And among these, the South African 5 Rand from 2006 carries a story far more powerful than its size. Imagine holding in your hand a small piece of metal that has seen more roads than we ever will. It may have sat in the pocket of a factory worker waking up before sunrise. It may have paid for a child's first ice cream on a warm afternoon. It might have dropped into a bus conductor's hand or clinked into the center tray of an old car where it stayed forgotten for years. Coins move. They circulate. But they also survive. And sometimes, when the world finally pauses to look at them again, their real worth begins to shine. Now think back to 2006. Many of you watching this were already deep into your careers. Some of you were a few years away from retirement. Others were raising families, or maybe adjusting to life after your children moved out. The world was shifting rapidly. Technology was speeding forward, old habits were changing, and many things that once felt permanent started fading. Yet this one coin was being minted, freshly pressed with its bold springbok antelope, the edge marked with distinctive grooves meant to prevent counterfeiting. South Africa was strengthening its currency design at the time, and the 5 Rand piece was given a bimetallic structure, stronger, harder to duplicate, and more striking than many everyday coins around the world. But a coin is never just a design. It becomes something only when people use it, carry it, and unknowingly give it meaning. And that is exactly what happened with this 2006 5 Rand. For years, it disappeared into the flow of daily life. It clattered on counters, sat in wallets, fell between couch cushions, and filled jars in kitchen drawers. But over time, numismatists, coin collectors, began noticing certain years, certain mint conditions, certain rare features. What was once ordinary began to stand out. And as we know, once collectors start paying attention, values can rise in ways no one ever expects. But what truly draws people in today, especially men in the later chapters of their lives, is not just the coin itself. It's what it represents. It reflects endurance, something that many of you watching understand better than anyone. A long career, decades of responsibility, challenges you pushed through, families you built, losses you survived, victories you didn't celebrate enough. Life has a way of rounding our edges the same way coins lose their shine. But every mark, every scratch, tells a story. And this humble piece of metal, born in 2006, has become a quiet symbol of that journey. Let's go further. Think of the memories tied to money back in the day. Not digital numbers on a screen. Not plastic cards. Real currency. The sound of coins rattling in a pocket. The feel of them stacking in your palm. You could sense their weight, judge their value with your fingers, and you knew exactly what each piece meant. A 5 Rand coin might have bought you a newspaper, a loaf of bread, maybe a cup of coffee depending on the place and the year. But it always had purpose. It always completed the transaction. Now, years later, when most of the world has turned to tapping screens, scanning barcodes, and paying with invisible digital credits, this coin stands as a reminder of a simpler time, one where you could feel the worth of what you earned. This is why collectors, especially older collectors who lived during the height of physical currency, feel drawn to coins like this. There's a connection that goes deeper than value. It's memory, it's nostalgia, and it's also the thrill of knowing that something small, something forgotten, something ordinary once upon a time, can unexpectedly become extraordinary. And that's where this 2006 5 Rand coin takes the spotlight. You might be surprised how many people today are searching for it, not because it looked different in a pocket, but because certain editions, certain preserved pieces, have become incredibly desirable. A coin kept untouched, stored safely, protected from wear, can become a treasure. And treasures always attract those who appreciate history, craftsmanship, and the feeling of holding something rare. But let's make this clear. What gives this coin its power is not just its rarity or its metal composition. It's the story around it. It's the idea that you could reach into a drawer, open an old box, or search through a tin where you tossed coins years ago and suddenly discover something of real, tangible worth. Men who have lived through decades of change often appreciate the physical authenticity of something like this more than anyone else. It's real. You can hold it. You can weigh it. It doesn't depend on a battery or software update. It simply exists, and its value stands on its OWN.SO. As we approach the end of this story, think for a moment about all the small things you've kept over the years. Sometimes what seems ordinary today becomes meaningful later. Sometimes the past rewards us in ways we never expected. And sometimes, a simple 5 Rand coin minted in 2006 can rise far beyond its original worth. And now, as promised, here is the part many of you have been waiting for. Certain highly preserved, highly sought-after collector-grade pieces of the South African 5 Rand 2006 coin have reached values that would have been unthinkable when they were first released. In the collector's market today, one such exceptional piece has been valued at an astonishing $18,000.